You people don't belong in a store like this. Diane Fletcher's hand cracked across Keisha Washington's face before the words fully registered. The sharp sound echoed through the marble-walled boutique like a gunshot. Shopping receipts scattered from Keisha's grip, floating to the floor in slow motion. The boutique froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. A teenager near the jewelry display gasped, her phone already recording. "Now pick them up," Diane hissed, her wedding ring glinting under the crystal chandeliers. Keisha's cheek burned red, but she didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't even touch her face. Her designer briefcase remained steady in her other hand, its subtle corporate logo catching the light. She made no move toward the scattered papers. Instead, she looked directly into Diane's triumphant eyes with terrifying calm. "Have you ever been publicly humiliated, only to discover you held all the power the entire time?" The store's PA system crackled to life. "Attention customers, Bellacourt Boutique closes in 45 minutes. Thank you for shopping with us today." Diane Fletcher straightened her blazer, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes as she watched Keisha Washington's motionless form. The red handprint on Keisha's dark cheek seemed to validate every prejudiced assumption Diane had ever harbored. "Well?" Diane's voice carried across the boutique. "Are you going to stand there all day, or are you going to clean up your mess?" Maya Monroe, 19 and a sophomore at the local university, had been browsing earrings when the slap happened. Her phone was already recording, Instagram Live activated with shaking fingers. The viewer count climbed 47, 89, 156 people watching in real time. "Oh my God," Maya whispered into her phone. "You guys are not going to believe what just happened at this fancy boutique. This manager just slapped a customer." The comments began flooding in. "Call the police! Is this really happening? What store is this? Someone record this!" Diane noticed Maya's phone and marched over, her heels clicking aggressively against the marble. "Put that away, we don't allow filming here." "It's a public space," Maya replied, her voice stronger than she felt. "And I'm pretty sure assault is illegal." "Assault?" Diane laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "That woman was probably trying to steal something. I was protecting my merchandise." Keisha finally moved, bending gracefully to collect the scattered receipts. As she knelt, a first-class boarding pass slipped from her purse. Phoenix to London, tomorrow morning. The ticket landed face up, displaying executive platinum status in gold lettering. Nobody noticed, except the security camera recording silently overhead. When Keisha rose, she folded the receipts with deliberate care. Her movements were controlled, almost meditative. A silver phone buzzed insistently in her briefcase. 3 missed calls from board meeting reminder. Diane's assistant manager, Jake Morrison, emerged from the stockroom carrying inventory clipboards. At 28, Jake had worked retail for 6 years and knew better than to challenge his boss. He assessed the situation with practiced indifference. "Everything okay out here, Diane?" "Just dealing with some people who don't understand boundaries," Diane replied, never taking her eyes off Keisha. "You know how they are." Jake nodded, though something in his stomach twisted. The phrase, "you know how they are," had always made him uncomfortable. But challenging Diane meant risking his promotion to assistant district manager next month. Maya's live stream continued gaining viewers. The count reached 312, then 450. Comments streamed faster than she could read them. "Someone finds out what store this is. This is disgusting. Why isn't anyone helping her? Hashtag boutique discrimination." An elderly white woman named Patricia, 73 and a regular customer, pretended to examine silk scarves while watching the drama unfold. She'd witnessed similar incidents before. The subtle ways staff followed certain customers, the extra scrutiny at checkout, the assumptions made about credit cards and spending limits. She'd never spoken up before. Today felt different. The slap had crossed a line even her privileged comfort couldn't ignore. But Patricia remained silent, adjusting her pearls nervously. Diane grew bolder, emboldened by the lack of intervention. You know, I've been managing this store for 8 years. I can spot troublemakers from a mile away. She gestured toward Keisha. Designer knockoffs, expensive-looking purses probably bought at some discount outlet. You people always try to look like you belong. You people. The phrase hung in the air like poison gas. Keisha's phone buzzed again. This time, she glanced at the screen. Multiple notifications flashed. Emergency board call, 15 minutes. Phoenix acquisition review. Legal department urgent. She declined all the calls with steady fingers. Ma'am, Keisha spoke for the first time since the slap, her voice calm as still water. I'd like to try on that navy dress in the window. Size 8. Diane's eyebrows shot up. That dress costs $800. I understand. Do you have a credit card that won't be declined? Maya zoomed in with her phone, capturing every micro-expression. Her viewer count had reached 627 people. The hashtag boutique discrimination was gaining traction, shared by viewers to their own social media accounts. Keisha reached into her purse and withdrew a platinum credit card. Not just any platinum card, a corporate American Express with Washington Keisha VP Operations embossed in raised letters. But she held it at an angle where only Jake could see the text clearly. His eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing. Store policy requires ID with credit cards over $500, Diane announced, making up the rule on the spot. Of course. Keisha produced her driver's license without hesitation. Jake glanced at the ID and credit card combination. His face went pale. He knew that corporate logo. Everyone in retail knew Megacorp Industries, but the connection hadn't clicked yet. 37 minutes until closing, the PA system announced. Diane snatched the items from Jake's hands before he could process what he'd seen. She barely glanced at them, too focused on her power play to pay attention to details. Fine, but I'm watching you every second. One suspicious move and security gets called. Diane pointed toward the dressing rooms. And leave your purse out here. I'd prefer to keep my belongings with me, Keisha replied. Store policy, Diane lied again. Keisha set her briefcase beside the counter, positioning it carefully so the corporate logo faced outward. The golden emblem caught the boutique's lighting perfectly, visible to anyone who bothered to look closely. But Diane was too busy savoring her perceived victory to notice she was staring at the symbol of her own corporate parent company. Maya continued streaming, her audience now approaching 800 viewers. The comments had evolved from shock to anger to calls for action. Someone had identified the boutique's location. Others were sharing screenshots and tagging local news stations. The storm was building, but Diane Fletcher remained blissfully unaware that she was standing in its eye. 25 minutes until closing, the announcement echoed through Bellecourt Boutique. Maya's live stream had exploded. The viewer count climbed past 200 as people shared the feed across platforms. Comments flooded the screen faster than she could track. Someone called corporate. This is 2025, not 1925. Get her name and badge number. Where's security? As if summoned by the digital outcry, 2 security guards approached the boutique. Marcus Thompson, a 42-year-old black man with 15 years of mall security experience, and his partner, Danny Rodriguez, 26 and relatively new to the job. Marcus had been monitoring the situation from the mall's security office after receiving reports of disturbance at Bellecourt. The mall's CCTV system had captured everything: the slap, the verbal abuse, the growing crowd of phone-wielding witnesses. What's the situation here? Marcus asked Diane, his voice professionally neutral despite the knot forming in his stomach. Diane's face lit up with vindication. Finally! This woman, she pointed at Keisha, has been causing problems. I suspect she's planning to steal merchandise. Based on what evidence? Marcus asked carefully. She fits the profile, Diane replied without hesitation. You know what I mean. Marcus knew exactly what she meant. The same profile that got him followed in stores when he wasn't wearing his uniform. His jaw tightened imperceptibly. Danny, eager to prove himself, stepped forward. Ma'am, we're going to need you to empty your purse and bags for inspection. That's not legal without probable cause, Maya called out, still streaming. Her audience had reached 1,800 viewers. Someone in the comments had identified the mall location and was posting the corporate phone numbers for both the boutique and mall management. Who asked you? Diane snapped at Maya. Security, I want her removed for unauthorized filming. Actually, Marcus said slowly, filming in public areas of the mall is permitted under our policy. Diane's face flushed red. This wasn't going according to plan. Keisha emerged from the dressing room wearing the navy dress. It fit perfectly, transforming her from victim to vision. The $800 price tag dangled from her wrist like an expensive bracelet. I'll take it, she said simply. Let me see that credit card again, Diane demanded, sensing she was losing control of the narrative. Jake Morrison watched nervously as his boss spiraled. He'd been trying to recall where he'd seen that corporate logo on Keisha's briefcase. Something familiar nagged at him. A logo he'd seen in company memos, perhaps? Meanwhile, Patricia, the elderly customer, had moved closer. At 73, she'd witnessed enough injustice to recognize it clearly. Her phone trembled as she opened her camera app. She'd never used social media, but her granddaughter had shown her how to record videos. This is completely inappropriate, Patricia whispered to herself, but loud enough for others to hear. Diane heard her and whirled around. Ma'am, if you're not purchasing anything, I'll have to ask you to leave. We're very busy. I'm a customer, Patricia replied with the dignity she'd inherited from 3 generations of privilege. I've been shopping here for 5 years. Well, today you need to move along. The dismissal of an elderly white customer shocked even Jake. Diane was alienating everyone now. Maya's phone was getting hot from continuous streaming. Her audience had swelled to 2,400 viewers. The comments section had evolved into a real-time investigation. Found the corporate number 1-800-Megacorp. Screenshot of the manager's name tag. Someone posted this on TikTok already. Local news has been tagged. A new notification appeared on Maya's stream. Channel 7 News is now watching. Keisha processed her payment with deliberate calm. The platinum card went through immediately. No holds, no verification calls, no declined transactions. The receipt printed with a soft mechanical whisper. Your total is $847.92 with tax, Jake announced, his voice barely above a whisper. Diane snatched the receipt before Keisha could take it. I need to verify this transaction. Verify what exactly? Keisha asked. Sometimes these cards are stolen. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Even Danny, the junior security guard, looked uncomfortable. Marcus stepped closer, his hand moving to his radio. Ma'am, Marcus addressed Diane. You're making some serious allegations without evidence. I'm protecting my store, Diane shot back. It's my responsibility. Keisha's phone buzzed insistently. She glanced at the screen. Board emergency call, now. The caller ID showed Megacorp CEO office. She declined the call again. Is everything all right? Jake asked, noticing her phone's constant notifications. Just work, Keisha replied. Nothing that can't wait. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was declining calls from her own corporate headquarters while being accused of credit card fraud in a store her company was considering purchasing. Maya's live stream had become a phenomenon. The viewer count hit 3,200. Local news stations were monitoring the feed. The hashtag Bellacourt discrimination was trending regionally. Store security is detaining a black woman for suspicious credit card use, Maya narrated for her audience. She paid for an $800 dress, and they're treating her like a criminal. Turn that off right now, Diane demanded, pointing at Maya. No, Maya replied firmly. This is America. I have rights. Not in my store, you don't. Marcus intervened. Ma'am, she's in a public area of the mall. She has every right to film. Diane's authority was crumbling in real time, broadcasted to thousands of viewers. She needed to regain control. Danny, call mall management, Diane ordered. I want everyone removed except paying customers. Actually, a new voice interrupted, I'm mall management. Jennifer Walsh, the mall's assistant general manager, had arrived after receiving multiple calls about the incident. At 35, she'd climbed the retail management ladder by handling crises quickly and decisively. Ms. Fletcher, Jennifer continued, we need to discuss this situation immediately. Diane's face went white. Mall management involvement meant corporate reports, incident documentation, potential liability issues. There's no situation, Diane stammered. Just a routine transaction verification. That took 20 minutes? Jennifer glanced at her watch. For an approved credit card purchase? Maya captured every word, every facial expression, every moment of dawning realization on the faces around her. Her audience had grown to 4,100 viewers. The story was spreading beyond her stream now. Screenshots appearing on Twitter, clips being shared on Facebook, local Facebook groups buzzing with outrage. 15 minutes until closing, the PA announced. Keisha stood in the center of the chaos, wearing an $800 dress she'd legitimately purchased, holding a receipt for a completed transaction, surrounded by security guards, mall management, live streamers, and witnesses. The absurdity of the situation would have been comedy if it weren't so tragically familiar. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked directly at the screen, making sure Jake could see it clearly. The caller ID read, Megacorp Board of Directors. Emergency session. Jake's eyes widened as the final piece clicked into place. Megacorp Industries, the parent company that owned 60% of the mall's retail space, the corporation that issued his paychecks, and this woman was declining their emergency calls. Ma'am, Jake whispered urgently to Keisha, I think you should probably take that call. Keisha looked at him with the first hint of a smile she'd shown all evening. You think so? The storm was about to break and Diane Fletcher was standing directly in its path. 10 minutes until closing. The announcement seemed to trigger something in Keisha Washington. She reached into her briefcase with deliberate precision and withdrew a business card holder, sleek black leather with gold trim. Marcus, she said, addressing the security guard by name, though he'd never introduced himself. I think you should see this. She handed him a single business card. Marcus glanced down, and his professional composure cracked. His eyes widened, then narrowed as he read the card twice. Danny leaned over to look, his mouth falling open. What's it say? Maya whispered to her live stream audience of 4,800 viewers. The comments were moving too fast to read. What's on the card? Zoom in! Tell us! Marcus looked up at Keisha, then at Diane, then back at the card. His voice came out strangled. Ma'am, this says you're Keisha Washington, Vice President of Retail Operations, Megacorp Industries, she finished calmly. The boutique fell silent except for the soft jazz playing through the speakers. Diane's face went through a spectrum of emotions, confusion, disbelief, then dawning horror. That's not possible. Megacorp? Jake Morrison's voice was barely a whisper. He knew that name. Every retail employee in the region knew that name. The corporate giant that owned shopping centers, retail chains, and entire commercial districts. Jennifer Walsh, the mall's assistant general manager, stepped forward. May I see that card? Marcus handed it over with shaking fingers. Jennifer examined it carefully. The corporate watermark, the embossed lettering, the holographic seal, the QR code that linked to Megacorp's executive directory. This is authentic, Jennifer whispered. Her face had gone ashen. Megacorp owned the mall management company that employed her. They owned 40% of the retail space in this entire shopping center. Jake Morrison felt his knees go weak. Megacorp Industries owned the parent company that operated Bellacourt Boutique. They owned the retail space, the security company, and ultimately issued his paychecks. This woman wasn't just any corporate executive. She was his boss's boss's boss. Maya's live stream exploded. The viewer count shot past 6,000 as people shared the stream frantically. Comments flooded in. She's a VP? Plot twist of the century. That manager is so fired. This is better than Netflix. Someone call TMZ. But Keisha wasn't finished. Not even close. She pulled out her phone and held it so everyone could see the screen. The lock screen was covered with notifications. 17 missed calls from Megacorp CEO office, 12 text messages from Board of Directors, 5 voicemails from Legal Department, urgent, and 3 calls from Acquisition Team, priority. I've been declining emergency calls all evening, she said conversationally, scrolling through the missed calls. Calls about our acquisition of Bellecourt's parent company, the deal I've been personally overseeing for 6 months. Diane's face had gone completely white. Acquisition? We're purchasing the entire chain. $89 million. I was here tonight conducting final due diligence before tomorrow's board vote. Keisha's voice remained eerily calm. Evaluating store operations, customer service standards, management practices, employee behavior. The words hit Diane like physical blows. Jake grabbed the counter for support, his promotion dreams evaporating in real time. You see, Keisha continued, Megacorp takes corporate culture very seriously. We've learned that toxic management creates legal liabilities, hurts brand reputation, and ultimately impacts shareholder value. Patricia, the elderly customer, had been recording everything on her phone since the business card was revealed. Her granddaughter had taught her well. She was capturing it all in HD, her hands steadier than people half her age. This was a test? Diane's voice came out as a croak. No, Keisha replied, her tone growing colder. This was me trying to buy a dress for my daughter's graduation tomorrow. The test was how you treated a black woman in your store when you thought she had no power. You failed spectacularly. Maya's audience had swelled to 8,500 viewers. News outlets were now monitoring the stream. Local TV stations had received tips. The story was breaking in real time across social media platforms. Channel 7 News is requesting permission to record, Maya announced to her audience, reading her phone notifications. Fox 5 wants an interview. This is insane. Jennifer Walsh was already on her radio, speaking in urgent, hushed tones to mall security headquarters. Corporate crisis protocols were being activated across multiple companies simultaneously. Marcus stepped back, creating physical distance between himself and the unfolding disaster. In 15 years of security work, he'd never seen anything like this. He'd witnessed shoplifting arrests, minor disputes, even medical emergencies. But watching a corporate executive get racially profiled while conducting a secret business acquisition? This was unprecedented. Danny, the younger security guard, looked completely lost. His training had never covered anything remotely similar to this situation. Keisha touched her phone screen. I should probably take one of these calls now. She pressed the callback button for Megacorp CEO office. The phone rang twice before a harried voice answered. Keisha, thank God, we've been trying to reach you for an hour. The board is in an emergency session. Legal is going crazy. What's happening down there? Everyone in the boutique could hear both sides of the conversation. Keisha had deliberately activated speakerphone. Robert? Yes, it's Keisha. I'm still at the Bellecourt location conducting the final assessment. No, we have a significant problem. How significant? Robert Monroe's voice was tight with corporate anxiety. The acquisition is compromised. We have a hostile environment liability issue, physical assault, racial discrimination, false accusations of theft, illegal detention, harassment of customers. Yes, all perpetrated by management. And yes, it's all been documented. Silence on the other end. Robert, are you there? Jesus Christ, Keisha. Documented how? Live streamed, going viral as we speak. Keisha glanced at Maya. How many viewers now? 11,000, Maya replied in amazement, watching the numbers climb in real time. 11,000 people watched employees of your potential acquisition target slap me across the face and accuse me of credit card fraud. The silence on the other end of the call was deafening. Jake could practically hear lawyers scrambling in the background. Robert, are you there? Jesus Christ, Keisha. Are you all right? Do you need medical attention? Legal is going crazy here. They're talking about lawsuit exposure, brand damage, SEC filing implications if this affects the acquisition. I'm fine, but we need emergency board consultation. This changes everything about the deal. Diane had sunk into a chair behind the counter, her face buried in her hands. Her 8 years of management experience were crumbling. Her authority was gone. Her career was over. The liability exposure is massive, Keisha continued into the phone, making sure everyone could hear. Discrimination lawsuits average $240,000 in settlements. But this isn't just about money. This is about corporate culture, brand reputation, and systemic issues that could cost millions. What's your recommendation? Robert's voice was tight with corporate panic. Complete management overhaul, immediate termination of staff involved, comprehensive sensitivity training for all employees, new policies, new oversight, new leadership, and that's just the beginning. Maya's viewers had grown to 13,200. The hashtag Bellacourt discrimination was trending nationally. Local news stations were dispatching crews to the mall. The story was spreading beyond social media into traditional news outlets. Or, Keisha continued, we walk away from the acquisition entirely. $89 million, 6 months of negotiations, but we protect our corporate reputation and avoid inheriting a toxic culture. The board is going to want a full report within the hour. They'll have it. But Robert? I need immediate authorization to handle this situation on the ground. The longer this live streams, the worse it gets for everyone involved. We're looking at potential class action lawsuits, EEOC investigations, and federal civil rights violations. You have full authority, whatever you need, just handle it. The stock price is already taking a hit from social media chatter. Thank you. I'll call you back in 20 minutes with a preliminary damage assessment. Keisha ended the call and looked around the boutique. Diane was crying quietly, her mascara streaking down her cheeks. Jake looked physically sick, probably calculating unemployment benefits. Marcus and Danny stood at attention like soldiers awaiting orders. Jennifer was frantically typing on her phone, probably alerting her own corporate chain about the crisis. Patricia approached slowly, her phone still recording. Excuse me, dear. I'm 73 years old and I've seen a lot of unfairness in my time. I lived through segregation, I saw the civil rights movement, I watched progress happen slowly, but I've never seen anyone handle injustice with such grace and power. Thank you, Keisha replied. Though I'm not finished yet. Maya's stream had become a phenomenon. 15,000 viewers and climbing. The comments had evolved from shock to awe to calls for justice. This is historic. She's handling this like a boss. Justice in real time. That manager picked the wrong woman. Black excellence. But Keisha had one more card to play. She opened her briefcase fully for the first time all evening. Inside, clearly visible to Maya's camera and the growing crowd of onlookers, were legal documents with confidential Bellacourt acquisition stamped across the top in red letters. Multiple file folders were visible. Due diligence report, financial assessment, management evaluation, and cultural integration plan. These are the purchase agreements, she explained calmly, pulling out a thick stack of papers. Signed by our board yesterday. The deal was supposed to close tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. pending my final operational assessment. She held up a single sheet of paper with the Megacorp letterhead. This is my assessment form. Under management quality and customer service standards, I had planned to write acceptable or needs improvement. Diane looked up from her hands, mascara streaking down her cheeks like war paint. Instead, Keisha continued, I'm writing hostile environment, immediate management restructuring required, and systematic discrimination, legal liability high. Recommend acquisition termination. The boutique was dead silent except for the continuous ding of notifications from Maya's phone as viewers shared the stream across every social media platform imaginable. "Store closing in 5 minutes," the PA announced, oblivious to the corporate earthquake happening in real time. Keisha tucked the documents back into her briefcase and straightened her $800 dress, the dress she'd bought with her own money while being accused of credit card fraud. "Now," she said, looking directly at Diane, "we're going to discuss what happens next." The twist was complete. The victim had become the judge, and 17,000 people were watching justice unfold live. 5 minutes until closing. All customers, please finalize your purchases. The PA announcement felt surreal against the corporate crisis unfolding in real time. Maya's live stream had reached 19,000 viewers. The hashtag Bellacourt discrimination was trending in 12 states. Local news vans were arriving in the parking lot. Keisha Washington stood in the center of the boutique like the eye of a hurricane, surrounded by the chaos she'd unleashed with a single business card. "Diane Fletcher," she said, her voice carrying the weight of corporate authority for the first time all evening. "Store manager for 8 years. Salary, $42,000 annually plus commission. Last performance review. Satisfactory with noted areas for improvement in cultural sensitivity." Diane's head snapped up. "How do you know my salary?" "Because I signed the budget approvals for all regional management compensation." Keisha pulled out her phone and opened a corporate app. "I also have access to your employment file, disciplinary records, and customer complaint history." Jake Morrison watched in horror as Keisha's fingers moved across her phone screen. "3 formal complaints filed against you in the past 2 years, Keisha continued, reading from her phone. "All involving allegations of racial profiling. HR dismissed them as unsubstantiated because there were no witnesses willing to come forward." Maya zoomed in on Keisha's phone screen, though the text was too small for her viewers to read clearly. The comments exploded. "She has access to everything. This woman is unstoppable. Corporate receipts in real time." "Tonight," Keisha said, looking directly into Maya's camera, "we have 20,000 witnesses." Marcus Thompson, the security guard, had been quietly observing the corporate meltdown. As a black man who'd worked security for 15 years, he'd seen discrimination from both sides. He'd been the target, and unfortunately, sometimes he'd been forced to participate when pressure came from above. "Ma'am," Marcus addressed Keisha carefully, "what do you need from mall security?" "Document everything. Your incident report will be evidence of potential federal civil rights violations. The DOJ takes retail discrimination very seriously, especially when it's captured on video and live-streamed." Jennifer Walsh, the mall assistant general manager, was on her 3rd emergency phone call. The mall's corporate headquarters was in full crisis mode. Their biggest tenant was imploding in real time, streamed live to thousands of people. "Jennifer," Keisha called out, "I need you to contact Robert Morrison from Bellacourt Corporate immediately. Tell him Keisha Washington from Megacorp is requesting emergency management consultation." "Robert Morrison?" Jake's voice cracked. That's the regional vice president, my boss's boss." "Yes. And in about 10 minutes, he's going to receive a very interesting phone call about tonight's events." Keisha's phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Megacorp Legal Department, emergency." She answered immediately, keeping the conversation on speaker. "Keisha, this is Amanda Monroe from Legal. We've been monitoring the social media situation. The video has been shared over 50,000 times in the past hour." "Amanda, perfect timing. I need immediate legal guidance on several issues: assault and battery, false imprisonment, racial discrimination under federal civil rights law, and potential class action exposure." "We're already assembling a litigation team. But Keisha, this could affect the Bellacourt acquisition. The board is asking if we should invoke the moral turpitude clause in the purchase agreement." Diane's face went white. "Moral turpitude clause?" Keisha looked at her with cold professionalism. "Standard language in acquisition contracts. If the target company engages in behavior that damages corporate reputation or exposes us to legal liability, We can terminate the purchase agreement immediately." That's $89 million, Jake whispered. "Exactly. And right now, this store's behavior is jeopardizing the entire deal." Amanda's voice continued through the speaker. "The social media team says the story is being picked up by major news outlets. CNN Business has reached out for comment. The NAACP issued a statement calling for investigation." Maya's viewer count hit 22,000. She was struggling to read comments fast enough. "CNN is covering this. NAACP statement just dropped. This is national news now. Justice in real time." Patricia, the elderly customer, had been recording everything on her own phone. She approached Keisha with remarkable composure for someone her age witnessing such drama. "Dear, I've called my granddaughter. She works for Channel 7 News. They're sending a crew and they want to interview you." "Thank you, Patricia. That's very helpful." "I also want you to know," Patricia continued, her voice shaking slightly. "I've been shopping here for 5 years. I've seen how they treat customers who look like you versus customers who look like me. I should have spoken up before. I'm ashamed that it took this to make me find my voice." The confession hung in the air like a truth bomb. Even Maya's viewers fell silent for a moment before the comments resumed. White ally stepping up. Better late than never. This is how change happens. Keisha's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID read, "Robert Morrison, Bellacourt Regional VP." "That was fast," Keisha murmured, then answered. "Mr. Morrison." "Ms. Washington, I just received a very disturbing call from mall management. I'm driving to your location immediately." "How far away are you?" 15 minutes. I need to understand what happened before this becomes a bigger crisis." "Mr. Morrison, it's already a bigger crisis. Your store manager physically assaulted me, accused me of credit card fraud, and attempted to have me arrested for shopping while black. It's been live-streamed to 22,000 people and counting." Silence on the other end. "Furthermore," Keisha continued, "this occurred while I was conducting final due diligence for Megacorp's acquisition of your company. I now have serious concerns about your corporate culture and management practices." Jesus Christ. "Diane Fletcher?" "Yes." "I've been dealing with complaints about her for 2 years. Legal said we needed stronger evidence before we could take action." "Well, now you have it. In 4K resolution, live streamed to the world." Jake Morrison had gone completely pale. His boss's boss had just admitted there were prior complaints about Diane. His promotion dreams weren't just dead. His current job was probably over too. "Ms. Washington," Robert Morrison's voice was tight with corporate panic. "What can we do to remedy this situation?" "Immediate termination of all involved management, public apology, complete policy overhaul, mandatory sensitivity training for all staff, and a thorough review of your hiring and promotion practices." "Done. Whatever you need." "And Mr. Morrison, this conversation is also being live-streamed to 23,000 people. They're hearing your promises in real time." Maya's comments exploded. "He said yes to everything. Accountability in real time. This is how you handle corporate discrimination." "The store is now closed," the PA announced. "Please exit through the main entrance." But nobody moved. The boutique had become ground zero for a corporate reckoning that was being broadcast live to the world. Keisha opened her briefcase again and pulled out a tablet. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen. "I'm filing my preliminary acquisition assessment now," she announced to the room and to Maya's growing audience. "Status: deal contingent on immediate management restructuring and comprehensive cultural reform." "What does that mean for the employees?" Jennifer asked, thinking about the hundreds of people who worked at Bellacourt locations. "It means the good employees who treat customers with respect will keep their jobs. The ones who don't—" Keisha looked directly at Diane. "Won't." Diane finally found her voice. "You can't do this. I have rights. I have a union." "You have the right to face the consequences of your actions," Keisha replied calmly. You assaulted a customer, engaged in racial discrimination, and created a hostile environment. That's not union-protected behavior, that's criminal behavior. Marcus stepped forward. Ma'am, do you want to file formal assault charges? I can call the police to take a report. Keisha considered this for a moment. 24,000 people were watching her decision. Let's see what Mr. Morrison offers when he arrives. Corporate accountability can be more effective than criminal charges, if it's real accountability. Maya's viewers had grown to 25,000. The story was spreading beyond social media into mainstream news. This wasn't just about one incident in one store anymore. It had become a symbol of systemic change happening in real time. Mr. Morrison will be here in 10 minutes, Keisha announced, and then we'll see how serious Bellacourt is about change. The corporate showdown was about to reach its climax, witnessed by thousands of people who were documenting every moment of what real accountability looked like. Robert Morrison arrived exactly 14 minutes later, his face flushed from sprinting through the mall corridors. The Bellacourt regional vice president was a man accustomed to managing crises, but nothing had prepared him for walking into a live-streamed corporate meltdown. Maya's camera captured his arrival perfectly. 27,000 viewers watched him enter the boutique, his eyes immediately finding Keisha Washington in her $800 navy dress. Ms. Washington, he said, slightly out of breath. I cannot begin to apologize for what happened here tonight. Mr. Morrison, Keisha replied with professional calm, your apology isn't enough. We need immediate action. Without hesitation, Robert turned to Diane Fletcher, who was still seated behind the counter, mascara streaked and defeated. Diane Fletcher, you are terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the premises. Your final paycheck will include 2 weeks severance as required by law, but your employment with Bellacourt is over. Diane's mouth opened, but no words came out. Jake Morrison, Robert continued, you are suspended pending full investigation. You'll receive a call from HR tomorrow morning. The live stream comments exploded. Fired on the spot. Justice served. This is what accountability looks like. Real consequences in real time. Marcus Thompson stepped forward. Sir, I'll need to escort the terminated employee from the mall premises. Of course. Robert pulled out his phone and made a quick call. This is Morrison. I need immediate HR documentation for termination of employee 47291. Cause, assault, discrimination, violation of corporate conduct policies. Yes, effective immediately. Maya captured every word, every expression, every moment of corporate justice happening live. Patricia approached Robert with her phone still recording. Young man, I've been a customer here for 5 years. I want you to know this isn't the first time I've witnessed inappropriate behavior toward black customers, but it's the first time I've seen real consequences. Ma'am, if you're willing, I'd like HR to interview you about what you've observed. We're conducting a full investigation into all management practices at this location. I'll be happy to help. Keisha opened her tablet again. Mr. Morrison, I'm updating my acquisition assessment in real time. Your response tonight shows promise, but we need concrete systemic changes. What specifically do you need? First, mandatory unconscious bias training for all employees. Not a 1-hour online module, comprehensive in-person training with quarterly refreshers. Done. Second, a new customer feedback system with direct reporting to corporations. Anonymous complaints, tracked and investigated within 72 hours. Agreed. Third, diverse hiring requirements for all management positions. Your leadership team needs to reflect your customer base. I'll work with HR on implementation immediately. Maya's audience had reached 29,000 viewers. The comments were a mix of celebration and calls for continued accountability. Don't let them backslide. This needs to happen everywhere. Real change happening live. Document everything. Jennifer Walsh, the mall manager, stepped forward. Ms. Washington, I want to assure you that mall management will be implementing similar policies. We cannot allow discrimination in any of our retail spaces. I appreciate that, Jennifer. Megacorp takes the business climate of our properties very seriously. Robert Morrison pulled out his company tablet. Ms. Washington, I'm issuing a formal corporate statement right now. It will be posted on our website, social media, and sent to all employees within the hour. He began typing rapidly, then turned the tablet toward Maya's camera so the live stream could see. Bellacourt Corporate Statement. Tonight, unacceptable discrimination occurred at our Westfield location. The manager responsible has been terminated immediately. We are implementing comprehensive reforms, including mandatory sensitivity training, diverse hiring requirements, and enhanced customer feedback systems. Discrimination has no place in our stores or our society. We commit to being part of the solution. The live stream exploded with reactions. Public accountability. Screenshot this statement. This is how corporations should respond. Don't just post it, follow through. Keisha reviewed the statement, then nodded. That's a good start. But Mr. Morrison, the real test isn't what you post tonight. It's what happens in 6 months, 12 months, when the cameras are gone and the social media attention has moved on. I understand. And Ms. Washington, I hope you'll consider allowing Megacorp to monitor our progress. We want to earn back the trust we lost tonight. We'll be watching, Keisha said simply. Marcus had quietly escorted Diane from the boutique. She left without saying another word, her 8-year career ending in disgrace and viral infamy. Jake Morrison gathered his belongings, his face ashen. His promotion dreams had become unemployment reality in the span of 2 hours. Patricia approached Keisha one final time. Dear, what you did tonight, standing your ground, demanding justice, creating change, that's courage. My granddaughter is going to write about this story, and I'm going to make sure she gets it right. Thank you, Patricia. Your voice matters too. Allies speaking up makes all the difference. Robert Morrison concluded his evening of crisis management. Ms. Washington, the Bellacourt chain will be a better company because of what happened here tonight. I hope the Megacorp acquisition can proceed with your confidence in our commitment to change. We'll see, Keisha replied. Change is measured in actions, not words. Maya announced to her audience, 31,000 viewers witnessed real accountability tonight. This is what justice looks like when it's demanded, documented, and delivered. The boutique began to empty, but the impact of the evening would ripple through corporate policies, employee training programs, and customer service standards for years to come. Real change had begun, live-streamed to the world, one honest conversation at a time. 3 months later, the Bellacourt acquisition closed successfully. The $89 million deal proceeded with new leadership, comprehensive cultural reforms, and Keisha Washington's full endorsement. Maya Monroe's live stream from that night reached over 2.8 million views across all platforms. She parlayed the viral moment into a journalism scholarship and now covers social justice stories for her university's award-winning news program. She learned that one person with a camera and courage can document history in real time. Patricia Williams became an unlikely activist at 73. Her granddaughter's news report won a regional journalism award. Patricia now volunteers with the NAACP, sharing her story about finding her voice later in life. She proved that allyship has no expiration date. Robert Morrison implemented every promised reform. Unconscious bias training became mandatory across all 847 Bellacourt locations. The customer feedback system resulted in 3 additional management terminations and dozens of policy improvements. Anonymous complaints dropped 60% as trust in the system grew. Marcus Thompson, the security guard, was promoted to head of mall security training. He now teaches de-escalation techniques and cultural sensitivity to security teams across the region. His experience witnessing justice unfold showed him that speaking up creates change. Diane Fletcher struggled to find employment in retail management. Her viral infamy followed her across social media searches. She eventually moved to another state and took a job in warehouse logistics, far from customer interaction. Her story became a cautionary tale about the permanent consequences of discrimination in the digital age. Jake Morrison used his suspension period for reflection. He completed voluntary sensitivity training and now manages a small bookstore that emphasizes community inclusion. He learned that staying silent in the face of injustice makes you complicit. The hashtag Bellacourt discrimination hashtag evolved into #retail accountability, inspiring similar confrontations of discrimination across the country. Dozens of other incidents were documented, shared, and addressed because people found their voices. Keisha Washington was promoted to Senior Vice President of Corporate Culture at Megacorp. She now oversees diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across all company holdings. Her daughter wore the navy dress to her graduation ceremony, calling it the dress that changed retail. These real-life stories prove that quiet power often transforms systems more effectively than loud anger. When we document injustice, we create accountability. When we demand change, we get results. The touching stories from that night remind us that everyday courage can create extraordinary change. Black stories matter. Black voices uncut create impact that ripples far beyond viral moments. Life stories like Keisha's show us that preparation meets opportunity in unexpected ways. Her education, professional position, and calm strategic thinking turned a moment of humiliation into systemic transformation. But most importantly, this story proves that justice doesn't always require lawyers, lawsuits, or legislation. Sometimes it just requires someone brave enough to document truth, someone powerful enough to demand change, and someone wise enough to choose reform over revenge. Real power isn't about getting even. It's about making sure the next person doesn't face what you faced. Have you witnessed discrimination in retail spaces? Share your experience in the comments below. Your voice creates change. Your story matters. Your courage inspires others. Hit subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories where quiet strength transforms unjust systems. Ring the notification bell because every documented injustice becomes accountability. Every shared story builds community. Every view demands change. When we speak truth to power, power listens. When we demand justice, justice responds. When we create change together, the world becomes better for everyone.